Hello everyone, Carlos Flores, back on basics. So, before we begin this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel at Back on Basics 9985. Hit the notification button so you can get notified of any new video that comes on board. If you have a question, a topic, if you need a question to be answered, if you want me to give you my take on anything, put it in the comment section and I'll be more than happy to do so. If you want to connect with me on social media outlets, on Facebook, you can search for me, Carlos Flores Jr. On Instagram, on X, and on Threads, you can type in at Back Basics. So, before we begin this video, again, I want to thank the 511 subscribers to this YouTube channel at Back on Basics 9985. All of you with your subscriptions, with your likes, with your comments. You're making this a big community. There's positive comments, there's constructive comments as well. I welcome all of them, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any suggestions, if you have any topics, if you see a video and you think that I need to break it up into smaller chunks or I need to make it into a little bit more broader, then by all means let me know. Again, I'm open to feedback, ladies and gentlemen. Just like I tell you, be open to feedback and then accept what you want to accept and not accept what you don't want to accept. And again, utilize your support system, right? Because your support system can help you out as much as possible. And one more thing, be in the present moment. Because if you're in the present moment, you'll be able to adapt. So let's talk about being an introvert and an extrovert. And I know that I've done a video similar to this, but I'm gonna give you a different perspective, and I'm gonna give you my experience. So, an extrovert, it's somebody that they're called kind of like the life of the party. They love interacting with people. They connect with people. They actually, their superpower is building these relationships, but they're not as deep a relationship as those of an introvert. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. They build these relationships, and so they build bridges for people. So that way, there's collaboration between companies, there's collaboration between people, there's collaboration between like schools and different things. And so they hustle and bustle. Their thing is that they can be those people that can talk and give you different reasons why you should be on their team, you should be on their side, you should be on their support system. And so again, they're called the life of the party for a reason, because they can talk. They go from person to person to person to person, from group to group to group to group. If they would be at a party or if they would be at a meeting, they're the ones that, that get hired by companies to promote their services, to promote their, to be part of like social gatherings, chambers of commerce, different things. So, but then there's the other part, right? And those are the introverts. And I'm going to talk about it because I'm an introvert. Remember, I've said that before. As an introvert, what I do is I observe. As an introvert, our relationships tend to be a little bit more deeper, because what we do is we learn from one another. Remember, that's one of the suggestions that I give you is that, the world all around us teaches you things. There's a lesson to be learned everywhere you look. And so it's up to you to choose or not choose to learn it. Right? And so a lot of the times it could either be somebody telling you their story and how they were successful or how they were not successful, or it could be that you're watching somebody in action and you see their success or they see their failure. And so again, you learn by example, you learn by watching, you learn by observing. So for me, as an introvert, let's put me in a party, right? And so for me, as an introvert, my extrovert tank is not full. It's probably halfway. And that's for a reason, because an introvert does not build, right? Does not talk and go from person to person to person to person. And an introvert is more strategic in a sense, right? So I'll give you an example. If I'm at a party, like for example, right? Let me start by saying an introvert also, one of their superpowers is being able to help, uh, for the most part, right? Because we're so observing that we can see the things that people sometimes need, or the things that they're missing, or the things that may adapt, and they can get to their completion of their goals, or they can get to their activities that they want to do and the ones that they have to do. And so uh you know being an introvert is that's the reason why I like psychology, because I'm a people watcher, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes I just sit and watch people, because you know what, after a while you can see the pattern. You will see the pattern, even if those people are trying not to let you see how they are, so that way you don't figure them out. You will figure them out as an introvert, because you're a people watcher, because you see the details, right? While an extrovert sees the general opportunity, an introvert sees the specific opportunity, right? Both an introvert and an extrovert put into work, right? Both introvert and extrovert should be humble, right? But the difference is that, for me, like an extrovert, so what I do is I generally sit or stand somewhere and I observe the room, and I see, and I learn things, right? I stay out of my head, because I don't want to be in my head, because then I'm stuck in here. And so I look at the room and I learn about people, or I stand with somebody that I know, so that way I can learn. I can meet new people through them. So again, right? And an extrovert goes and meets people. An introvert connects with others, so that way they introduce you to the other people. And so again, there's a difference, right? And so again, as an extrovert, people tend to make relationships, and believe me, they're good relationships, but they're not deep relationships. They're the relationships that it's kind of like a win-win kind of thing. But for an introvert, you build deep relationships. And sometimes when you can't build the deep relationships, that's when an introvert goes back and pulls back and becomes quiet again and looks and scans, because maybe you thought that they were going to be a certain way, but they end up being something else. You end up being a different type of person that does not match with your personality or the way that you interact. Or maybe those people tend to be negative. Extroverts can talk to anybody. They can go from one person to the other, to the other, to the other, and it's great. That's their superpower. They can talk to anybody. Introverts are selective. We are selective. We go from one to the other, to the other. But while, as an example, right? While extroverts talk to 20 people, introverts, we may talk to 3. And that's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that you get through, because it 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 doesn't amount, because most of the time what we're doing is we're observing, because we want to create these deep relationships with coworkers and friends and everything, while an extrovert wants to create a number of relationships, right? It's the type of relationship or friendship with the extroverts based on the number of relationships. I mean, honestly, I can't count how many people I interact with, but I'm very strategic. And I take advantage and I learn from what they're doing and what they're not doing. And then I compare it to my schema. And my schema, and I'm going to say schema because that's just my life and how I see things and how I put things together, right? Remember, I'm always talking about mind, body, emotional, and spiritual balance. And so we have to make sure that For me as an introvert, I'm balanced. If I'm not balanced, then I'll be exhausted or I'll go quiet and I won't be talking as much because again, right? I'm not gonna spend the last, uh, my energy in talking to somebody that's not gonna be listening or active listening to what I'm talking about. Because a lot of the times for us as introverts, we feel like what we're saying is pretty important, right? Because we've been watching, we've been interacting, we've been trying to create relationships that are deep relationships within whatever we're at. So again, right? Sometimes you people watch. As an introvert, as an extrovert, you just dive in. You're the life of the party. And again, right? You'll probably get a lot of different numbers and contacts and everything. As an extrovert, as an introvert, it'll be a smaller one, but it'll be a meaningful one because you will interact with them at a later time, or you will interact with them in another meeting or another event. And so again, big difference between an extrovert and an introvert. So again, I want to make sure that you understand that there's big differences between being an outgoing person and an inward person. And like for me, I'm an introvert. So why am I doing these videos and why am I so lively when I do that? Because there is something called there is something called masking, and it's masking. I mask myself because I have an extrovert tank. It's not as big as an extrovert, but again, it's at least halfway. And believe me, I take advantage of my half an extrovert tank as much as I can because that's how I build relationships as well. I start building general relationships and then it becomes deeper as an introvert, right? Creating these meaningful relationships, these meaningful partnerships. And so again, I tend to focus on, right, building these win-win kind of relationships. And so or partnerships. And so again, as an introvert, having an extrovert tank that's not full, but maybe half or maybe even less than half, I am very strategic as to how I talk. Where do I talk? Who do I talk? It's easier to spot an extrovert because they're the ones who are leading the conversation. And it's great because you know what? I can also tag team with an extrovert that'll open the doors for me. They will start the conversation. I will come in and I will say something that is meaningful, something that connects everybody together, something that will bring things together, or you do an action or helping people out. So that way it's a win-win situation. So again, that is how I describe myself as an introvert. And that's some of the differences between an introvert and an extrovert. So I think what I'm going to do is either tomorrow or the day after, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the extrovert person. And that's what I'm going to do with the shorts, with the micro shorts, with the reels and everything. But in the meantime, remember, we both have, it's kind of like the yin and the yang. We have a little bit of everything. We have a little bit more of our dominant, archetype, which for me is introvert. So I have a lot more introvert than extrovert, and so other people have the other one, but we help each other out. So again, right, get to know yourself, put yourself out there, put in the work, right? Be humble, help people out, use your superpowers. Back on basics.